Hey folks, welcome back to Guitar with Ed. I hope you enjoyed the intro section of our 12-bar blues. If you have any questions, any comments, by the way, please write them below. You can use the Facebook thing, send me a message, or you can leave it in the comments section of the YouTube channel there, and I'll try to answer your questions and give you suggestions and such to help you out. Okay, so now we're going to start with the whole soloing section of the song here, because you're going to play the 12-bar blues rhythm pattern throughout for the first time, right? So now we're going to start with our 5th fret, basic A minor pentatonic that everyone knows. And we're going to use a couple of notes that aren't in the scale, but they'll really make it bluesy, and you won't sound like a heavy metal guy trying to play blues or something. These two notes, just two notes, one on one string, one on another string, and you'll be rocking it. So you have your scale that you're used to doing: 5/8, 5/7, 5/7, 5/7, 5/8, 5/8. So here on the 3rd string, the pattern would be 5/8. But we're also going to add in the 6th fret on here. So essentially your pattern would be, we're not going to use them in that order, but you definitely can when you're improvising. So we're going to introduce that note. And these two notes together, when you play one after another, they really embody the whole 12-bar blues, the sound of the blues, that melancholy, happy, sad thing. The minor 3rd, the major 3rd, to the root. And we're going to use stuff like this in the solo. So the second outside note we're going to use is on the 2nd string at the 7th fret. And so you have a pattern of 5, 7, 8. And that's going to be our situation here. We're still not going to use them like that, but you can. I mean, all the rock guys. Forwards, backwards kind of thing. So here we go. Our first phrase of the 12 bars blues solo is after you come out of your rhythm section. You can depart just a little bit early so you're ready to jump in. You're going to start at the 2nd fret on the 3rd string. And you're going to slide up to the 5th fret. Now, you notice I bent that string just a little tiny bit and smeared it. It'll sound kind of vanilla if you don't. It still sounds good, but is not nearly as cool as... It's just a little sadder. It kind of moans a little bit while you're playing it, you know? So there's phrase number 1. Now we're going to add that second note, that outside note here I was talking about on the 3rd string. Our phrase is going to start going from our 5th fret on your 1st finger to your 3rd finger on the same string, and then back again. Now I'm employing a hammer on here. For those who don't know, really what you got to do is squeeze and keep a little more pressure on your 1st finger than you would on the rest of the fingers. This will allow you to lift your fingers up and down and keep this guy there, because you're just slightly over squeezing with the one. Like 5%, 10%. It doesn't have to be a ridiculous amount. Now the next part of this hammer-on thing, what you have to remember to do, is when you land a note, you got to keep that pressure there. And I'm going to mute my strings, and you can hear how hard I'm hitting. You don't have to be quite that hard, but I'm making an example for you. And the real trick is, if this is your fretboard and my other hand is your finger, when you come down, you can't just come down and pull off and let the pressure off. You have to keep that pressure on there once you're there. Because the minute the string does not contact the metal, the string dies. It stops vibrating. So you got this. Sounds very, very bluesy. So that is our 2nd lick here. So then our 3rd lick is just, we're going to ascend all the way up to the 1st string. So you're going to just play the scale. It's a scale run. So you're starting at the 4th string on the 5th fret. Now notice I played that very last note twice. It makes more of a statement than just once. That just leaves you hanging. There's nothing kind of saying, hey, listen to this. So that second note really adds some tension to things, really. And that's all it really is. And if you can get the vibrato happening, get it happening. If you can't, just keep working on it. It'll sound sour, a little weird at first and wonky, but if you keep working at it, you'll figure it out. You'll figure out the feel and how much shaking of your finger you got to do. Because really I'm just shaking the note up and down. But because my thumb is contacting the wood, when I wiggle my thumb basically and do this kind of thing, basically since it's on the wood, just the finger moves, which moves the string. And different ways you hold your hand will make it sound a little different. You find your way and you'll find it. You just got to keep at it, it will come. But it just takes time, experience, and experimentation, like most guitar playing. So we did our ascending lick with a double note. So now we're going to be in this first string area here. So what we're going to do is slide out of this box position into this box position, the second position of your A minor pentatonic. So, but we're only going to use 2 notes. But you're going to slide up here from your pinky, slide into this position. Because now you're set up to go back to where you just came from. So that's all that lick is, very short. Use your pinky if you can. You know, it'll get better and better, get stronger and stronger the more you use it, just like anything. So, and then we're going to return back to our 5th fret position of the A minor pentatonic, the original position. That would be our very next lick in the solo. So what you're doing here is you're playing 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 of them are on this string, the first string, and you're only going to play 1 note on the second string. But what you should do, if you can, leave the first finger planted when you go over to the second string. That'll serve you a couple purposes. Number 1, you're using this as a pivot point, just like in basketball when you pivot on 1 foot. Most of us know how to play basketball to some extent. The other hidden thing that most people don't understand, even when you do this, is when you pull this finger off, especially when you get a bunch of overdrive or distortion on your guitar, everything rings easier. So suddenly, the trade-off is now you have to learn how to silence things, or it'll just be ringing like crazy and it's going to sound just awful. At least to you, it'll sound awful. You won't like it. People listening might think it's great, but you'll know. Well, when I'm doing this, I'm a little sideways on purpose, because the top of my finger, I'm picking here my second string, but I'm holding the first string. And now it's muted, so I don't have any noise when I release that pinky to get back over to my first finger here. Now that noise is gone, so you don't get any of that. Any of that stuff, or so it'll silence it for you, and that's a big thing on guitar. If you can mute whatever strings you're not using with whatever piece of flesh on either hand you have left over, that's essential, really, and it's developed over time. It really is. A lot of guys are doing it, but don't know they're doing it. So then that leads us down to a couple more short phrases. So then our next phrase of the solo, we're going to start off here on the 5th fret again, but on the second string now. So you finished your 4-note little phrase. And then you're going to move your first finger right up, bunny hop over to the next string. And it's a 3-note phrase. You're just going to have 5 and 2 8s. 2 of these notes on the 8th fret of the second string. And that's it. So you have... And I hold it and do a vibrato instead of just letting it go. But short phrases are part of the blues. So then, speaking of short phrases, the next phrase is also another short one, 4 notes. Still the 5 and 8 on the second string. But now you're going to go backwards. You're going to go from 8th to the 5th and just repeat the same sentence twice. So you got... And that's kind of what's going on there. And that brings us to our final 2 licks of this first solo. So we're still on the second string in the same position. And you're basically going to start where you, repeating just what you just did, but you're just going to go down the scale. So we're going to start on the 8th fret, and then go to the 5th, and then keep going down. And then we're going to suddenly U-turn. Now I did another hammer on, but with my 3rd finger, because it's 2 frets apart here. Well, 3 frets apart, but I always have this one fret gap here. So that's why I'm setting up like this. So you get, and make it sing if you can. And then our final little part of this solo is you're gonna go and target your E note here on the 5th string on the 7th fret. That's all it is. So you got like something like 2, 3, 4, 1. And that's just an E note you're setting up to, which is the same as your 6th string. And there you go. There's our first little bit.